right. All right. I am so excited to have the brilliant Dr. Fawole with me. She's the queen of short-term rentals. I have to call you that. You got to give honor
Listen, I'll
where
take
honor
it.
is due. I say that because I believe you're doing such fantastic work out there with folks really trying to understand short-term rentals, and I'm seeing your conversion rate as well as your testimonials. So whatever you're doing a fantastic job. But where are my manners? Let me introduce y'all to Dr. Fawole. She is a physician entrepreneur, one of my favorite people to talk to because they have both sides of the brain working, and I love it. And she's a pediatric anesthesiologist. She's super passionate about helping young professionals establish their financial runway to grow their net worth. So I'm so excited for what you're doing. And one of the key ways she does it is through real estate. And this is why I call her the short-term rental queen, because she has figured it out and she has a blueprint to really help folks. She's a founder of Savvy Docs in real estate, and she's hosting her Short-Term Revolution podcast, and she has an upcoming conference, which I know she's going to tell us about shortly. So, well, welcome, Dr. Fawole.
Thank you so much, Dr. Coker. Super excited. Glad we can make this happen.
I know we've tried so many times. Well, a couple times, but still, we made it work. That's awesome. So tell me, Dr. Fawole, what is your perception of wealth, and why is it important for physicians to create wealth, in your opinion?
Yeah. I think when I think of that, I think of two sides of things. The first one is the fire on the mountain side, okay? And that's usually where I start. And it is the idea that not woe is me, not like, oh my gosh, we're so beat down, the world is turning, against us. But
Right.
it's the situation where you have these very powerful people not understanding their power, and the world is changing around them, and they're sitting on their power,
Right.
just waiting for someone to come help them. So here's the situation. Medicine has changed.
Mhm.
Okay. It continues to change. I saw a picture a couple of days ago of, and this is not bashing nurses. Okay. Nurses are great people.
Mhm.
But I saw a picture a couple of days ago of nurses at a white coat ceremony. Okay.
Okay.
Now we've had the whole thing about mid-levels. Now you have CVS, and all these other pharmacies running primary care clinics, basically turning medicine into what it has actually been for a couple of years, but now even like going really hard, turning medicine into just like any other corporate venture. Okay. A lot of us went into medicine as like, okay, this is my calling. This is what I'm called to do. And so there's a lot of altruism, right? But the fact is that medicine has and always has been a business. And we're finally just seeing its colors, but have not been prepared for the business building, wealth building aspect of it. Okay, so now you have people who just think that medicine is a bit or is a calling, and so they're basically being exploited by a system that is really driven to build wealth, but build wealth for others. Okay,
Wow.
so my thing is, listen, we got to build this wealth thing, okay? Because we build the wealth and we choose to still practice medicine, then fantastic. You have happier doctors. You have doctors who know that they don't have to take that extra call just because it was available, and they show up and serve their patients in the fullness of who they are, not burned out, not feeling like they're there because they have to be there, but they're there because they want to be there. That altruistic side of them can now show because they're not strapped by finances and all these other things. So that is the fire on the mountain side of what I do.
Okay.
The second reason that I think truckers have to build wealth is that it's fun. Okay. Short-term rentals. I know I talk a lot about short-term rentals. Now I've done long-term rentals for the longest time, and I can go into my story. But when I discovered short-term rentals, it was very recently, right? I've been doing long-term rentals, but when I saw what was happening on the short-term rental side, I was like, wait a minute. You mean I can do real estate and in the process get a property that I actually enjoy using. Wait, what? Basically, all I was doing in real estate was buying all these properties that I wouldn't even want to go, maybe not even want to visit sometimes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Like, my daughter got chased by a dog at a tenant, of a tenant. So you can imagine what that put into her head, that like this is a crappy property,
absolutely.
But now we're now in the short-term rental space where the properties are prettier. They're more desirable. You're talking lakefront house, you're talking beach house, you're talking cabins, you're talking, even if they're in the city, because of how you have to make your properties look, even you want to go stay there.
That's
So
it.
that's the other side of things, that now you have a niche in real estate where doctors can actually express their creativity and use that same property as a lifestyle property where wealth ultimately brings about wellness and you help cure burnout.
Yeah, that's it. I love that you said that and go back to the basic, which is burnout.
Yeah.
Because for me, I've worked with physicians and I know a lot of physicians in my life who have really toed with burnout. I personally went through burnout, so I know the disaster it cost in someone's life. But when I realized that even though people are going through burnout or at the verge of going into burnout, they are unable to take time off or quit because of their financial portfolio is not strong enough. So that's what led me to this mission, to really making sure I educate physicians to understand creating wealth is not only to be a rich person in a corner somewhere, but to really create a lifestyle that will satisfy you and your loved ones, and you can practice medicine on your own terms. So it's so much alike, and that's why we're so connected. So thank you for that. And yes, I love the lifestyle piece of it. I want to live in my property and I want to spend 6 months somewhere. So thank you for that mission that you're putting out there. So tell me what got you. So you did share a little bit about what got you started, which short-term rental. It sounds like I hate to use the word trend, but
Yeah.
it sounds like that's what's happening right now.
Yeah.
And how long do you see that lasting for?
No, so I mean I've now built a whole thing on the whole short-term revolution concept because it is real, right? Whether it's so basically what has happened in the past few years is, number one, is that property values have gone up significantly, making it such that traditional real estate investments, which is like your regular rental property, for example, if you've been following the market, and even if you haven't, you probably have heard that property values have gone up significantly. But guess what? Rents have not gone up as much in most markets. There are some markets where the rents have also climbed, but generally rents don't climb as fast because people who can afford a house probably can't afford crazy high rents either. So what people have now seen is that the returns the cash on cash returns, as we call it, that you would have gotten from a traditional rental property, let's say 5 or 6 years ago, hardly there, right? So where people were just okay making do with $200 a month in cash flow, $300 a month in cash flow, even those properties are that's not even there anymore. So to even make the deals make sense, people generally need something like more cash flow, right? And short-term rentals give you that extra, like give you more a month revenue to make up for the higher priced properties, if that makes sense.
Oh, no, it does make clear sense. And it's a quick turn as well. And you have frequency with a short-term rental.
Yes. So previously, and I'll probably get into my actual beginning, but previously I thought that short-term rentals were a horrible idea for anyone who was busy like me, because who was going to be turning that place over every day, every 2 days, every 3 days? But I had an interaction with my actual tenant, like we still have our long-term rental still yesterday. And I was like, I almost wanted to interact with him the same way I would a guest, like, okay, so when are you leaving? It's like, the thing about short-term rentals is no matter how crazy a guest that you get, right? you have it at the back of your mind, okay, this person is only there for 3 days. This person is only there for 3 days.
Yeah.
4 days, they're gone, right?
Yeah.
But a long-term tenant is very different. And, there are ways to make sure that you get a great long-term tenant and all of that. And, I'm not advocating, hating your tenants or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that that's another perk of short-term rentals, that whether you get a great guest or a nasty guest, it's just a couple of days.
It's just a couple of days. It took my brain went to speed dating. Yeah, so but absolutely, I hear you. So let me ask you, we talked about creating wealth. We talked about this amazing portfolio that you have around and using short-term rental as a vehicle that really turns and yield a lot of cash. What do you think is holding physicians back into really getting into it?
Yeah. I talk with a lot of people, and I always ask that question, like, what do you think is holding you back? And very often what I hear is, number one, I don't know where to start. Okay. Because here's the thing. A lot of us grew up. Now, the way medicine is designed, like our training and everything, you have to be an ultra focused person. Okay. You're generally someone who focuses really hard on what you're doing, with a couple of extracurricular activities just as an outlet, but you have one focus.
That's
So most
true.
of us have basically grown up knowing just medicine. It's like we may play, a musical instrument, we may do a few things here and there, maybe go hiking, but for the most part, like, our intentional learning has been medicine. So for a lot of people now, having to think about doing something else outside, they almost feel that they need the same amount of intensity and the same amount of training, like years of mastery, that they put into medicine to make it happen.
Right.
So one of the things that I like to say is, listen, if you can throw an LP in, you can pop an A line in seconds. You can, I can bring you somebody whose leg is limp, and you can trace it down the homunculus for all you care. Like, you can figure out where the lesion is for my neuro folks, right? You can do real estate. And for a lot of people, it's like, because it just seems like that thing that's like way out there. It just seems like this really scary thing that, like, they do, we don't do, but they do, right? Somebody else is so smart, they can do it. But I go back and I say, listen, it's just buying a house. And for a lot of people, when I say it's just buying a house, it shocks them, because they're like, wait, no, it's not just buying a house. And I'm like, let's peel apart all the fluff around it. It's just buying a house. Now, I very quickly tell them, well, it's not just buying a house, because you have to know what kind of house you're buying and what kind of numbers to run. But at its core, it's just buying a house. Okay. And for a lot of people, I find that, like, when I peel it back that way, and then I start building back up the caution and things, then they're able to accept the idea that even they can get started with that. So that's usually the first thing. The second one is usually they have these ideas that you need a ton of money to get started. And for me, with short-term rentals, actually, that was my own aha moment. So I was saying that, so the way I got started in real estate was a couple of years ago. This is like probably six. My daughter is 8 years old now, so I can't say it's 6 years. It's probably, oh my gosh, time is flying. Okay, whatever. So I was at home expecting my first daughter, and I was watching TV, and it was HGTV, and I saw Tarek and Christina on Flip or Flop turn this property from, crappy looking into this wonderful thing and make $60,000 in one flip. And I was like, wait, what? At the time, I was making $54,000 as a resident. I was like, wait, these guys just turned my entire annual salary in one episode. So whatever they're doing, I need to figure out. And that took me down this rabbit hole of just like learning about real estate. And for about the next year-ish, that was all I was consuming. That was all I was consuming. Eventually did my first deal about a year or so, like 2016-ish. Yeah. So about a year and a half later, actually. And now my second deal ever was a 12-unit apartment complex that I put together with other doctors. Now, I was still a resident, by the way. I was still a resident. And the reason that I mention this is that a lot of doctors that I talk with say, I don't have enough money to get started. Like, because, and they often say it with a bit of just feeling bad, like, I feel like I should be somewhere else financially. but I am not. And I say, listen, a lot of people out here are in a similar situation, right? But they go on these like Facebook groups where we have like let's say like the doc to doc rentals and stuff like that, and they're like, I don't know how these people are able to afford all these places. Like I can't even, or they'll tell me like on my X salary, name the specialty, right?
Right.
Just and then they put a specialty after it. But here's the thing: one thing that turned things around for me, and even last year, was that I found a number one. In real estate, you can generally, if you find a good deal, generally speaking, there's a way you can fund it. You can do partnerships, you can do, home lines of credit, you can do all kinds of things to make the deal happen. But last year in particular, with short-term rentals, I found out that, first of all, you could do rental arbitrage, which only requires like 5K or 7K to put together. And for most people, is like, oh, really? Yeah, you can start out with that. And you can find a property that makes you 1K a month, 2K a month, 3K a month, depending on where you find it. I have clients who are doing that even as we speak. But even for those who want to buy, those who are like, you know what, I still want the cash flow. I want to actually own the property. I want it to be mine. When I found out that you could use a second home loan to secure a short-term rental, I was like, wait a minute. I didn't even what?
Like what?
And yeah, and
I love it.
Second home loan requires just 10% down instead of 25% down that regular investment property needs. So it's like, so I can get a property that I can use for just 10% down. Or I could go buy a property with the long-term tenant and have to put down 25%. And if you put the two houses together, that one will probably have a couple of tenants who may or may not pay, God knows whatever. Or I have this gorgeous, beautiful, amazing property. For 10% down, I'm like, not only sold, right? But like, where do I
sign? Sign me up.
Like, I need a lake house like stat, right?
Yeah.
So that's what did it for me even last year, because prior to that, I was doing rental arbitrage. We were buying up regular rentals, and I was using the strategy where you basically buy a property that needs work, you fix it up, you basically recycle funds, and that was great. But I was doing all that because I felt like there was an extra league for those who bought vacation homes. But then when I learned, wait a minute, it's 10%, it's not 20-25% like these other ones over here, then we can do this same strategy that I'm doing over here on the prettier properties.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So yeah.
No, I like the way you broke that down. So this gives me a sense of what you're supporting the people in your mastermind with. For me, I've learned a lot. Like I was writing notes. I'm like, oh, this is good stuff. So tell me, how are you helping people and what kind of results are you getting?
Oh yeah. So with my experience now with the long-term rentals and buying properties at a deep discount, now I had to learn these things because I didn't have cash. Remember, I began doing residency, right? I think I'm at my 5-year mark out of fellowship. Okay. So I learned this stuff when I didn't have like a nest egg built up at all. So had to be creative from the start. So teaching people how to find properties that are verifiably good deals. That's number one. How to fund them. Okay, funding them both traditionally as well as creatively. How to use one pile of cash across multiple deals. Like you may have seen it on this on something we just did. We had a doctor who bought a property. This was like a year and a half ago, right? And she was able to she fixed up that house with like, I don't know, 20,000 or something. And by the time she was done fixing it up, by the time she appraised the property, they had raised the value with that small renovation to the point where she was able to pull out 60,000. Now, when I say 60,000, this is not on a house that's like super expensive. She pulled out 60,000 from a house that she bought for less than $200,000. Okay, so she pulled out 60,000. I was able to use now this new 60,000 towards now her current short-term rental, right? So that's just, and she came to us totally like brand new to all of this. We have another one who joined us about 10 months ago, and she has now done 4 deals in the past 10 months. 2 of them were rental arbitrage, which are not, so she didn't have to buy them, but she set them up and they're operating as short-term rentals now. One of them she actually bought at the beginning of the year, and the house looked like if you saw that house on Zillow, you would not even stop. You would not stop your scroll. The house just looked old and just dated, right? But she got in there, she was able to just fix it up, made it look amazingly beautiful. I put it on my Facebook wall too. Like when I saw a glimpse of the after, I was like, wait, what is it even the same? I couldn't even picture that the house could look like that. If you know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's like a completely different house. But in our world, she learned about how to renovate properties and stay within budget, make sure she didn't get screwed by her contractors, stuff like that. How to identify, what's a great investment, even when it's not necessarily like lakefront. So right now she's tapping into the traffic that uses the lake, but she didn't have to pay the premium,
Very smart.
of like having an actual lakefront property. Like if you heard how much she bought this property and how much is scheduled to make, like I can't even say it out loud because some of you would think that I'm just
making it up.
making it up. But
I believe
let's just say she bought this property for less than $20,000, and I think by the time they were done, they were just a little over $20,000. But her first guest paid $4,000 to be in that property, and it wasn't even a full month.
Right, I was about to say, like, for how long?
Exactly. It was a 2-week stay that she got for her first guest, and that guest paid her over $4,000.
And that should cover the mortgage or whatever else she has on it.
Way covered.
With change. I love it. That's excellent. I'm so happy to hear you're making such waves and really transforming lives. Just what I know you touched a little bit about doctors believe that they need to know the end to end in a given deal or whatever portfolio they want to take. Outside of that, like if you think from a mindset perspective, what might be holding them back? To see themselves as wealthy physicians, to see themselves as people creating wealth.
Yeah. It's an easy trap to fall into. And I know this because even I have had to coach. I didn't coach myself out of it. I actually had a coach work with me to even see myself, because it was a few months ago. I was coaching with she's actually Dr. Latifah. You probably seen her around, Money Fit MD. And she was talking, and she was like, you realize you're wealthy. And I looked at her like, huh? What are you talking about? I'm like, wait, who? What? Right? Because it either our communities or whatever make it seem like being in a wealthy place is a taboo. It's something that is out there. It's not for us. It's like, but then you're like, I don't have X in my bank account. I'm looking at you and like, you know how to create money. You know how to, you literally, as a physician, you just show up to work and 5 figures enters your bank account. Now, I know that some people in some specialties will say, well, in my specialty, I'm only making, but hold up. You just show up, right? All you need to do is show up and high 4 figures, at least, show up in your bank account. If that is not wealthy, I don't know what is. Yes, there are going to be people that are wealthier than you, but you need to at least just acknowledge and sit in the idea that you are in a wealthy place, and that even if circumstances that you're looking at right now are not exactly like they should be, like even in real estate, I mean, stuff happens, right? Like this year we had an apartment we had to like throw a lot of money into that really sucked cash out, and you feel beat down in that moment, but you need to pull yourself back up and just sit in the idea that irrespective of what is happening, you are in a wealthy place, right? And if you can start from there, your creative juices start to go, because now you start to think, okay, so what do wealthy people do? Okay, great. That property may have had a problem, but what are the solutions that I can, use? Like, how can I get creative to fix that situation? Should I keep that property? Should I sell the property? Should I evict somebody? Your creative juices start to flow when you step out of that place of victimhood, right? When you move out of the place of they're doing this to me to, okay, it's time to choose. Okay. Do you need, when you're in that place, you can actually like think and say, okay, so what is the current situation? Okay, I need to create another stream of income. Okay, so where are my options? Okay, well, there's real estate, there's this, there's coaching, there's blah, blah, blah. Okay, how do I start either of them? Well, if I don't know how to do X or Y or Z, well, who do I know that can teach me X or Y or Z? Knowing that I'm a smart person, right? I made it through med school. Okay, if it's beating the odds, I beat the odds. Just sit and remember who you already are. You don't even have to make anything up. Like just think about it. How many people got into medical school? How many people applied? How many people got into undergrad thinking they'll go to medical school, but then their grades couldn't keep it up? So you've already crossed those odds. Wealth is just the next step. Building wealth is just, it's like residency, fellowship, wealth.
There you go. I love it. I love it so much. And that's why I call my community Wealthy MD, because you have to say the word just to even be in the room, because your mind really starts on, oh, I'm wealthy. I'm, like you said, it's just really thinking and channeling, even if you don't feel it. What will a wealthy person do? I think you and I have one of our mentors in common, and he talks about the whole concept of wealth, right? It wasn't wealth related, but I want to use this example because I think it's so fitting, because he talks about it from the perspective of, this is Pedro Adeo. He talks about it from the perspective of, if you were Bill Gates' child, would you be worrying about that right now? If Elon Musk was your father, would you be worrying about making money or all of the things you're worried about right now? So why are you worried about it when you believe, that you're a child of God?
Yeah.
He owns everything.
Yep.
When he said that, I was like, mic drop.
Yeah, Pedro is good for that. Seriously, there's something that, like, when you just sit and just sit with them for a moment, like just block off the noise and really ask yourself, what am I freaking out about? And when you just kind of just pause and think about it,
right,
then your brain can actually kick in and be like, okay, what is the worst thing? Like, let's say I, bought my first short-term rental. Let's just say, we did. And it was the absolutely worst idea in the world. Like, it totally sucked. I was bad at it. Okay. Does that change who I am?
No.
Does that make me a failure? No. It may hurt when it happens. I can tell you that for sure, because we had to deal that didn't work. But when you really sit down and think about, like, what is the worst thing that could happen? Okay, so let's say you put in all your money in there and all your money just got lost, like you lost all your money. Okay.
Yeah.
You're still a doctor.
That's right. That doesn't change your name.
You can still go back to work.
You still get another line of credit.
And make your 5 figures a month.
I mean, wow. I'm so happy we're aligned here and we see this. This is why I have you as one of our guests, because you are wealthy, you exude wealth, and you are in fact making big waves and creating wealth for yourself and others. So kudos to that, and definitely continue to share that thinking with others who may be running into those roadblocks. And don't get me wrong, we are humans, things happen. We go through life, but then sometimes, like you said, just being quiet and then just do a quick rundown. Okay, I got my health. I'm still a doctor. Life is good. Like, I'm already wealthy. And for me, I kind of take it a little layer outside to say, not just being wealthy in your finances, but being wealthy in your own wellness, and then being wealthy in your relationships. And those are the 3 big pillars that I'm imperative. Because, you may have all the money in the world, but super unhappy because you find yourself in relationships that are not serving you. But again, I love my physicians so much because you all take care of the rest of us, the rest of the world. So you deserve to be wealthy. You deserve to be 7, 8 figure millionaires and makers and so on. So that's amazing. Thank you for that. So how can we learn more about you?
So the easiest way really is to find me on Facebook, Dr.Fawole. But if you want to join our community, you can go to what is it called?
Savvy Doc?
I totally just blanked on my group. Okay, so
I'll put a link below.
Our website is savvydoctors.co. But then we have actually that amazing event that I mentioned in October, and that one you can find at pwrcon2022.com. So it's a physician wealth revolution. So pwrcon2022.com, and that'll be a whole party.
No, that's great. And I can't wait for that event to happen. Just so what's one nugget you would give any physician listening to us to say, what's the one thing they can do today to help them feel confident in creating wealth?
That one thing will be just sitting down, taking a sheet of paper and writing down anything in your life that somebody will look at and be like, huh, I don't know how you got that. Like that. Right? And when you start writing that, you have a whole sheet before you know it. And hopefully that'll give you the confidence to go take on whatever it is that you're thinking you want to embark on for building wealth.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. And I also kind of like something you said earlier about, if it's coaching you want to do, or real estate or investment, find someone that's already doing it. Yeah. Because what you're doing, what I'm doing, we're collapsing time for people.
Exactly.
Right? Because you said you spent 1.5 years before you made your first deal. Guess what? You're teaching people how to do it in months or weeks. That's collapsing time. So you're giving them time back, and no one can give you time back because time is so precious. That is, some people say, well, why is your coaching so expensive? Or why do I have to pay this and that? And I'm like, listen, you can't buy time.
When people even think that, I chuckle because I'm like, you want to pay for it a different way? Go for it, right? 10K, 12K, 50K, whatever it is that anybody charges you for anything, go back and ask them how much they've learned the other way, like through the School of Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
When I chuckle because I'm like, you want to go learn your own real estate lessons? Sure. Let's talk later.
Yeah, I like that because people will say, you know what, I can just YouTube it. Like, yeah, you can YouTube it in patchwork, put it all together. Good luck. It's going to take you another 3-4 years to get to your goal. Whereas working with the people who've already done the work, got the stripes to show it. I mean, you can't buy time. So whatever you pay today, trust me, it's still nowhere near the experience and knowledge you've required to be able to serve them. So I just want to say thank you for making time for us. Thank you for putting your work in the world. We really appreciate your mission. We're here to support you. And I'll be sure to put the links below so folks can find you in October, and also the Savvy Docs. So God bless.